Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, I feel fine, so my kidneys must be fine too? What if I told you that by the time you actually feel something, fatigue, puffy eyes, or foamy urine, your kidneys may have already lost up to 70% of their function? I'm Dr. Johnny, and today I want to warn you about a hidden epidemic that silently cripples millions of Americans every single year. Kidney disease doesn't come knocking with pain or fever. It creeps in quietly, almost politely, while you live your normal life. You don't cough, you don't hurt, you don't even realize it's there, until one day your doctor says words that change everything. Your kidney function is dropping. Here's the truth that most people don't know: the first sign of kidney disease isn't what you think. It's not in your urine. It's not swelling in your legs. It's not back pain. It's something far sneakier, something happening deep inside your blood chemistry, years before any test shows trouble. And right now, even if you feel completely healthy, your kidneys could be under attack. Every minute, your kidneys filter over a quart of blood, balancing your pH, electrolytes, and blood pressure while keeping you alive. But when this hidden process starts breaking down, it doesn't send you a warning. It hides behind normal lab results. That's why 9 out of 10 people with kidney disease in the US have no idea they even have it. The danger isn't just the disease, it's the silence. Because by the time symptoms appear, the damage is already done. Imagine a house where the foundation is slowly cracking under the floorboards. From above, everything looks fine. You cook, you laugh, you sleep. But underneath, it's falling apart. That's exactly how kidney disease works. But here's the good news: once you understand the real first sign, once you know what to look for, you can catch it early, stop it, and even reverse it before it's too late. In this video, I'll show you what that hidden sign is, how to detect it from a simple test, and the small daily choices that can protect your kidneys for decades. Because the truth is, survival isn't about fear, it's about awareness. And today I'm going to help you see what your body's been whispering all along. Most people believe kidney failure begins with symptoms they can feel, but the real story starts long before that. It starts quietly inside your bloodstream, years before the first swelling or fatigue ever appears. So before we uncover the secret signal your kidneys send when they're in trouble, let's understand just how much these two small organs do to keep you alive every single second. Most people think kidney disease is something that happens to other people, the elderly, the sick, or the unlucky. But here's the shocking reality. According to the CDC, 1 in every 7 American adults already has chronic kidney disease, and nearly 90% of them don't even know it. That means someone could be sitting right beside you, perfectly normal on the outside, while their kidneys are slowly breaking down inside. I once had a patient named Robert, 56 years old, retired firefighter, looked healthy, never missed his morning jog. The only thing he complained about was being a little more tired than usual. When we ran his labs, his kidney function was already down by 45%. He was stunned. "How is that possible, doc? I feel fine." That's exactly what makes kidney disease so dangerous. It hides behind normality. No pain, no warning, just silence. You see, the kidneys are master survivors. They can lose nearly 2/3 of their strength and still make you feel okay. Every day they filter more than 1,800 liters of blood and recycle over 99% of your body's water and electrolytes. They're like the quiet custodians of your life, working around the clock, never asking for a break. And because they're so good at compensating, they can keep up the illusion of health even as the damage grows. That's why early awareness matters. When you know what's happening inside your body, you can act before it's too late. Because by the time the signs show up, swollen ankles, foamy urine, constant fatigue, you're no longer in the early stages. You're already halfway down the road to kidney failure. So ask yourself, if 9 out of 10 people never see it coming, what's really happening beneath the surface? What's that invisible chain reaction that starts long before the symptoms appear? Because knowing the statistics isn't enough. You need to understand the hidden trigger that sets this silent destruction in motion, and that's what we're about to uncover next. But just knowing this part isn't enough, because there's another factor far more dangerous, far more common, that almost everyone overlooks. Most people believe they'll feel it when their kidneys start failing. They wait for a signal: fatigue, foamy urine, puffy eyes, or a dull ache in the back. But here's the cold truth: by the time those early signs appear, your kidneys are already in deep trouble. In fact, studies from Johns Hopkins show that more than 40% of patients who develop visible kidney symptoms are already in stage 3 or 4 disease. That means the damage has been building silently for years. Take Margaret, a 62-year-old teacher who came to my clinic. She'd been waking up at night to use the bathroom and thought it was just part of getting older. When we checked her labs, her filtration rate had dropped below 50%. But Dr. Johnny, she said, I don't have pain or swelling. And she was right, because pain is the last language kidneys speak. They don't cry out until the damage is severe. Here's why that happens. The kidneys are like high-tech filters made of millions of microscopic units called nephrons. When one nephron dies, the others pick up the slack. When thousands die, the survivors work harder. That's why you can lose up to 70% of kidney function without a single symptom. Your body is brilliant at hiding the problem until it can't anymore. So those little red flags people rely on, night urination, cloudy urine, mild swelling, aren't warnings. They're confessions. They're your kidneys saying we've been fighting for years and we're running out of time. The sad part, most people ignore them, thinking it's just stress, aging, or dehydration. If you've ever brushed off those signals, you're not alone. But from this moment on, I want you to see them for what they really are: not the start of the problem, but the proof that it's been there all along. And if that realization feels unsettling, good, it means you're paying attention. Because the real first sign of kidney disease doesn't come from how you feel. It comes from a hidden imbalance inside your blood chemistry that you can't see or sense. Yet it's quietly reshaping your future. But just knowing this part isn't enough, because there's another factor far more dangerous, far more common, that almost everyone overlooks. So if all those early symptoms come too late, what's the real first sign of kidney disease? It's something almost no one talks about, a hidden metabolic shift called insulin resistance. This isn't a term meant just for diabetics. It's the silent trigger that starts the domino effect long before your blood sugar ever rises, long before your doctor ever says the word disease. Let me tell you about James, a 48-year-old office worker who came in for a routine checkup. His glucose levels were normal. His blood pressure was a little high, but not alarming. He felt fine, busy life, decent diet, no big complaints. But when we tested his insulin, it was almost 4 times higher than normal. His body was working overtime just to keep his blood sugar stable. That's insulin resistance in action. Your cells stop listening to insulin, so your body keeps shouting louder and louder. And here's where it gets scary. Research from the American Journal of Physiology shows that insulin resistance is the very first metabolic alteration in people who develop chronic kidney disease. It shows up even while kidney function still appears normal. In other words, the fire starts burning years before the smoke ever appears. The same mechanism that drives type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure also damages the delicate blood vessels inside your kidneys, causing microinflammation, stiffening, and scarring. Think of insulin like a key. In a healthy body, that key fits easily into the cell's lock to let glucose in. But when resistance begins, the locks jam, the keys stop working, and sugar and insulin pile up in the bloodstream. That sticky mix doesn't just raise your risk for diabetes, it starts corroding the tiny filters inside your kidneys, clogging and overworking them day after day. This is why someone can have perfect blood sugar and still be on the fast track to kidney failure. Because the damage isn't about sugar alone, it's about how hard your body is forced to fight to keep that sugar balanced. And every fight leaves a scar. If you've been told your glucose looks fine, don't relax just yet. The truth is, your insulin could already be screaming for help while your tests still whisper normal. But just knowing this part isn't enough, because there's another factor far more dangerous, far more common, that almost everyone overlooks. Here's the part that most doctors never tell you, and it's also the most empowering truth you'll hear today. Insulin resistance isn't permanent. It's not a life sentence. It's an adaptation, a protective mechanism that your body develops after years of fighting against poor diet, stress, and inactivity. And that means with the right changes, you can reverse it. You can turn the switch back. I remember a patient named Linda, 61 years old, retired nurse, struggling with fatigue and swelling in her legs. Her labs showed elevated insulin, but normal glucose, and her GFR had started to slip. Instead of more medication, we focused on her habits. Within 3 months of cutting refined carbs, processed oils, and late-night snacking, and adding short daily walks, her insulin dropped by 50%. Her energy returned, and her kidney numbers stabilized. She looked me in the eye and said, "I didn't know feeling normal could feel this good." That's what's so powerful about this stage, it's not too late. Research from Harvard and the Cleveland Clinic confirms that 95% of type 2 diabetes and early kidney dysfunction cases can be improved or reversed through lifestyle intervention. Not pills, not surgery, just choices. The right foods like healthy fats, clean proteins, and low glycemic vegetables teach your body to listen to insulin again. Proper hydration supports kidney filtration, and good sleep helps regulate hormones that keep your blood pressure stable. Think of it this way, your body isn't broken, it's reacting. It's trying to survive. But survival mode isn't sustainable forever. If you give your body what it needs instead of what's convenient, it doesn't just heal, it transforms. So before you assume that a diagnosis defines your destiny, remember this: your kidneys can rebuild your cells, can relearn, and your blood chemistry can reset. What matters is what you do next, and every meal, every sip, every choice is a vote for repair or decline. But don't relax just yet, because while lifestyle can turn the tide, you still need to know how to detect the earliest biochemical signal that your kidneys are in danger. A signal so simple you can measure it with a single test at home. But just knowing this part isn't enough, because there's another factor far more dangerous, far more common, that almost everyone overlooks. If you've made it this far, you already know that kidney disease begins long before the first symptom. So how do we catch it before it catches us? The answer isn't in expensive scans or waiting for bad news from your doctor. It's hidden in a simple formula that can literally change the course of your life: the HOMA-IR test. Let me break it down. HOMA-IR stands for Homeostatic Model Assessment of Insulin Resistance. Don't let the name scare you. It's basically a snapshot of how hard your body's working to keep your blood sugar stable. All you need are two numbers: your fasting glucose and your fasting insulin. Multiply them together and divide by 405. That's it. The result tells you whether your body is quietly slipping into insulin resistance or still running efficiently. When I first introduced this test to my patients, many were skeptical. One of them, Tom 52, a software engineer, had perfect glucose and cholesterol numbers. But when we checked his HOMA-IR, it was 3.7, almost triple the healthy range. We caught his insulin resistance years before diabetes or kidney issues could appear. Within 6 months of lifestyle changes, his score dropped to 1.4 and his energy came back. That's the beauty of this test. It reveals what traditional checkups miss. According to data from the American Diabetes Association, most adults develop insulin resistance 10 to 15 years before blood sugar ever rises. During that time, your kidneys quietly suffer from high circulating insulin and inflammation. That's why I tell my patients, don't wait until glucose changes. By then, your body's been screaming for years, you just didn't hear it. So the next time you do a blood panel, ask for insulin along with glucose. It's an easy add-on, about $20 at most labs, and it can save you decades of damage. Because what you can't measure, you can't control. And here's where things get interesting. When you finally connect the dots between insulin resistance, inflammation, and kidney stress, you begin to see the full picture of what's really happening inside your body. But just knowing this part isn't enough, because there's another factor far more dangerous, far more common, that almost everyone overlooks. Picture this: your body is like a finely tuned orchestra, and insulin is the conductor. In the beginning, everything is in harmony. Blood sugar rises, insulin steps in the cells respond, and your energy stays balanced. But over time, years of stress, sugar-processed food, and sleepless nights, the instruments start falling out of sync. The cells stop responding, insulin shouts louder, and the harmony turns into noise. That noise is insulin resistance. And while you feel nothing on the surface, your kidneys are quietly paying the price. I remember a man named Daniel, a 45-year-old truck driver who loves soda and energy drinks to stay awake on long roads. For years, his blood sugar looked fine. But what he didn't know was that his insulin had been rising little by little, silently, until his body couldn't keep up anymore. When we finally tested his filtration rate, it had already dropped below 60. How could this happen, he asked. The answer was simple but painful. It didn't happen overnight. It took 15 years. That's the hidden danger of insulin resistance. It's a slow-motion wreck. In the early years, your body compensates. Your pancreas works harder, pumping out more insulin to keep glucose normal. Then inflammation builds tiny blood vessels in the kidneys, start to stiffen, and the filters, those microscopic nephrons, begin to scar. Scientists call this glomerular stress, But in plain English, it means your kidneys are suffocating from the inside out. By the time your glucose finally spikes, you're already deep in the storm. This is why people say, my blood sugar was fine last year, and now I have kidney disease. No, it wasn't fine last year. It was failing quietly. Studies show that insulin resistance can damage kidney filtration up to a decade before diabetes is diagnosed. The tragedy is that no one ever checks insulin until it's too late. So when you see a blood test that says normal glucose, don't let that comfort you. Ask the real question, how much insulin did it take to keep it normal? Because that's where the truth hides. The body can fake normalcy for years, but every extra drop of insulin leaves a fingerprint on your kidneys. And here's the turning point. Once you realize this silent process can last 10, even 15 years, you understand why prevention must start now, not later. Because every day of delay adds another line to the story your kidneys are trying not to tell. But just knowing this part isn't enough, because there's another factor far more dangerous, far more common, that almost everyone overlooks. Here's the twist that shocks almost everyone: you don't need diabetes to damage your kidneys. In fact, high insulin alone can quietly erode kidney function even when your blood sugar looks perfectly normal. This is where so many people get blindsided. They see a normal fasting glucose on their lab report and breathe a sigh of relief, not realizing that elevated insulin has already begun eating away at the microscopic filters that keep their blood clean. Think of insulin like water pressure in your home plumbing. A gentle flow keeps everything working perfectly. But if the pressure stays high for years, the pipes begin to weaken, crack, and leak. The same thing happens inside your kidneys. When insulin levels remain elevated, they tighten the arteries that feed the nephrons, forcing them to filter blood under constant stress. Over time, that pressure destroys the tiny filtration units, leading to micro-leakage, scarring, and eventually irreversible kidney decline. A 2023 study in the Journal of Renal Physiology confirmed it. People with elevated insulin but normal glucose had significantly lower eGFR values, meaning poorer filtration compared to those with healthy insulin sensitivity. That means the damage starts years before your doctor ever calls it disease. High insulin doesn't just cause diabetes, it causes vascular suffocation, silently choking the kidney's delicate network. I had a patient named Elena, 58 years old, who prided herself on eating healthy. She avoided sugar but lived on low-fat cereals and fruit smoothies. Her glucose was normal, but her insulin was sky high. When she finally took the HOMA-IR test, it confirmed what her fatigue and swelling had been trying to say all along. Her kidneys were struggling under metabolic pressure. Once she reduced processed carbs and replaced them with clean fats and proteins, her insulin normalized and her kidney filtration began to recover. That's the key. It's not just about sugar, it's about how your body handles sugar. You could be one blood test away from discovering your kidneys are quietly drowning in insulin overload. The fix isn't found in medication alone, it starts with awareness, food, and habit. Because if you can lower your insulin, you can literally turn back the clock on kidney stress. But there's still one more layer to this story, an overlooked truth that changes how we see the entire disease. But just knowing this part isn't enough, because there's another factor far more dangerous, far more common, that almost everyone overlooks. Now that you know how insulin silently sabotages the kidneys, let's talk about something even more frustrating, the way modern medicine often looks at the problem upside down. Imagine your kidneys are like the foundation of a beautiful house. Cracks are forming underneath, but instead of repairing them, someone just paints over the walls. That's exactly what happens when we treat symptoms instead of causes. Doctors often prescribe drugs to manage the results of insulin resistance, high blood pressure, swelling, fatigue, without addressing the spark that started it all. It's like seeing water leaking from the ceiling and saying, let's fix the paint, instead of going up to the roof. When you take blood pressure medication without changing your insulin levels, you're cleaning up the puddle but leaving the leak untouched. I once had a patient, Henry, a 64-year-old contractor who lived on coffee and pastries. His doctor had him on 3 medications, one for cholesterol, one for hypertension, and one for fluid retention. But his blood sugar normal. His labs told one story, his kidneys another. His eGFR had dropped to 55 and his legs were starting to swell. When we checked his insulin, it was nearly 5 times the healthy range. The dirty floor wasn't the cholesterol or the blood pressure, it was the lifestyle feeding the resistance. Once we cleaned that up, the rest began to heal naturally. And that's the part no pill can replace. True healing begins when you take control of the root cause, what you eat, how you move, how you rest, and how you think. Medication has its place. It can buy time, but lifestyle rewires biology. It gives your kidneys a fighting chance to recover instead of slowly fading under chemical cover-ups. So before you accept that chronic disease is something you'll live with forever, ask yourself, are you treating the problem or just the symptom of a deeper imbalance? Because once you understand how the system hides the truth in plain sight, you gain the power to change it. And in the next part, we'll talk about what that change actually looks like, the real-world actions that can rebuild kidney health from the inside out. But just knowing this part isn't enough, because there's another factor far more dangerous, far more common, that almost everyone overlooks. So here's what I want you to remember. Your kidneys are not your enemy. They're your silent protectors, working day and night to keep you alive. Even if your numbers don't look perfect right now, it's not too late. The damage that took years to build can start healing today with small, consistent choices. Eat real food. Move your body daily. Cut down the sugar-processed oils and late-night snacks. And most importantly, learn to listen when your body whispers so it never has to scream. If this video opened your eyes or gave you hope, don't let it end here. Save this video so you can come back whenever you need a reminder of how much power you truly have over your own health. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications, because every week I share new science-backed ways to protect and restore your kidneys, simple habits that can make the next decade of your life stronger, clearer, and pain-free. You deserve to feel healthy, energized, and in control again. No matter your age, no matter your starting point, your body still wants to heal. It's waiting for you to give it the chance. So start today. Stay curious, stay consistent, and remember, awareness isn't fear, it's freedom. I'm Dr. Johnny, and I'll see you in the next video, where we'll go even deeper into how your kidneys and your entire body can rebuild themselves naturally. Until then, take care of yourself, stay strong, and never stop believing that healing is possible.